Hello. Today I'm starting to create our new vegetable garden. I'm Zorab and this is Byther Farm. This space is really similar to the size we had in our previous home, the raised veg garden there. I'm going to just go the width of the polytunnel and fairly long, and then on that side I'm going to use kind of as a utility area, and also I'll put some rhubarb and some currant bushes as well. And then over the coming months I'm going to create a smaller garden in this area next to the polytunnel to experiment and see how much I can grow in a smaller space. So this is, for an average garden, this is a pretty good size, but that's south, so it's going to be in shade most of the year. It's at the bottom of the hill, so it actually is quite soggy, and it's not necessarily ideal conditions for growing veg in. So this is going to be a little bit of an experiment. However, let's go back to this main veg garden. To help me mark out not only the size and the layout, but to try and get some fairly straight lines, I'm using a stick and some string, and I'm going to put this stick in, well, it's not a stick, it's a metal thingy, but I'm going to put it in at the far end of the polytunnel, right in the corner, and run the string along the side of the polytunnel, which makes it a nice straight line, and then carry it on further into the garden by keeping it straight and not going around the edge of the polytunnel, but in a straight line with it. That gives me a pretty good guide to getting a straight line here, and I'm just going to mark it with another of these pegs. So that now gives me a guideline for this side as well. Because I don't have access to a large volume of cardboard, I'm using this mulch paper, sheet mulching from Mulch Organic. I bought this roll and I really like it because you can just literally roll it out, put compost on top of it and start growing, just as you can with cardboard. So I'm trying to keep to the line I've marked out. It might not be exact, but it will be close, and that will do for me. And then I'm just going to secure it in the corners so it stays approximately in place. This sheet mulch really does need to be fixed to the ground so that the wind doesn't pick up and take it away, and the sooner I secure it down, the quicker it will actually become effective against the weeds underneath it. It lasts about 3 years, which is more than enough time, plenty more than enough time to kill off those weeds, including things like buttercups. So my plan is to put semi-raised beds in here. They're not really going to be raised beds, but because of the slope of the hill, on the lower edge I'm going to have a plank that's 6 to 8 inches high, and on this side hardly anything at all, and possibly no edge on it at all. It will very much depend on which bit of the hill we're on, because certainly this is slightly more steeply sloped than, oh, maybe it's not. Anyway, it's really hard to show on camera how steep this slope is. So I do want to put in some sort of almost terracing here so that the beds themselves are level. Apart from the membrane that I'm putting down on the ground and the screws that I'm using, everything else to create these beds is recycled. It's made from wood and decking planks that I've taken from elsewhere on the site that I found lying around, and also from another structure that I'm dismantling, but we'll get to that at a later time. So to make this level from the front here to the back there, I've had to use one of these rails, which is a 2 by 4, 2 inches wide, 4 inches deep, and then also a decking board on top of that, and that really isn't 100% level, but it was close. And I've used these posts in the corner to screw it to, so spirit level on the side, pulled it up so it was the right height. There are places along here, particularly in that corner there, where I can still see light through it, but I think that will be okay. And then on the sides, I'm just using some offcuts of wood, a couple of pieces that are offcuts of decking board, just some short offcuts of wood to plug the gaps along the side. And I think once it's full of compost, it'll be absolutely fine. And part of the reason that I want to try and level these out is the sun is predominantly coming from that direction during the growing season, and if I've got plants here, they're going to shade the things on the far side if those are lower down. So I'm hoping now it's all levelled out that they will grow more evenly. I know it would be really good practice to put all of these beds, get them all made and then fill them. I never do that, I don't have the patience for that. So I am going to get on and fill this bed. So I'm going to use what we've got on hand, which is composted manure. There'll be some wood chippings which are partly broken down, some used duck bedding, and then over the next few years I'll improve the soil by adding more organic matter to it when I've got it. So that the plants that I grow in here get the best start that they can, I'll use some bought-in peat-free compost in small pockets around the plants as I plant them, and then as their roots go out they'll hit the other materials I've put in there. Hopefully by then they'll have broken down a little bit more and the plants will be fine. I'm really excited to have started this in our last home. It took me a long time to kind of get my head around I could actually start growing without creating raised beds, and I can do that here, and if necessary I will do that here if I haven't managed to make all the beds by spring. Winter is such a good time to do projects like this. It is actually quite mild today. It's about 9 degrees, and although it's been cloudy and slightly misty or even foggy for the last couple of days, it is really nice to be able to be out here without having to have loads of waterproofs on. And so my next task is to actually start filling this bed. I'm exhausted now. So I've got a good layer of composted manure in there. I've topped it off with a really thin layer of bought-in peat-free compost. And now I want to put some used duck bedding and some wood chips over the top of it. But I'm tired now, so I'm going to pause. I'm going to put a bit of spare plastic polythene over it, just to protect it from the rain and the wind until I've got that mulch on the top of it. I'm really pleased with the start I've made on this. I know that I've got enough wood here to recycle to create, I think, possibly 12 beds. Fingers crossed, I'm not entirely sure. There's certainly enough for 8, so I'll do 6, then I'll start experimenting with just how much wood there is. And so, wherever you are in the world and whatever you've got planned for today, I hope it's a good one. And I also hope you'll join me again next time.